Gee whiz.
Hello, friends. I'm John Henderson. Welcome to this series of old-time radio show episodes called Gee Whiz. These are the stories of the schemes, trials, and loves of the typical American teenagers, Andy Hardy, Archie Andrews, and Henry Aldrich. Coming up, a radio adaptation of an Andy Hardy film, but first a winter episode of The Aldrich Family. This is from a time when milk was delivered to the door every morning, and you could get regular coal delivery. Coal trucks would dump new coal down a chute to a coal bin in your basement. You see, most people had a coal furnace. That meant that every night before you went to bed, you would close the furnace vents and let the fire die down and smolder overnight. And then in the morning, you would open the vents and shovel the coal in, poke it around a little bit to get it really burning. So enjoy this old episode of The Aldrich Family.
The Aldrich Family, based on characters originated by Clifford Goldsmith, and starring Ezra Stone as Henry, with Jackie Kelk as Homer.
Henry Aldrich.
Coming, Mother.
The Aldrich family, who live in the comfortable house at 117 Elm Street in Centerville, USA, are friends and neighbors of yours. Sam Aldrich and his wife Alice are real parents, and there never was a more typical American boy than their teenage son, Henry. Well, now it is evening, and as we join the Aldriches in their living room, just see if you don't recognize Henry Aldrich as a boy from your block.
Sam,
Yes, Alice?
doesn't the house seem chilly to you?
Henry? Henry?
Yes, Father.
Have you put any coal on the furnace?
In just a minute, Father.
You will please put it on now.
Perhaps he isn't through looking at the funny paper, Sam.
Henry never does anything until he's told 3 times.
But, dear, he's in school all day.
When I was a boy, I had a few responsibilities. In fact, I had a great many responsibilities.
Yes, dear. But remember, you grew up in another generation.
Henry,
Yes, Father, I'm coming right now.
do you realize your mother is cold?
Mother, which would you rather I do? Put some coal on or bring you your sweater?
Henry, why can't you do as your father asked you to?
I'm perfectly willing to. I just like to save all the coal I can.
Henry.
I'm starting right now, Father.
Just one moment, please.
You want to speak to I, Father?
No, sir. I want to speak to you.
Yes, sir, that's what I'm referring to.
Sit down a minute.
Yes, Father.
Do you know what I used to do when I was your age?
No, sir.
Believe it or not, I used to get up at 6 o'clock every morning. And after helping my father milk the cows, I walked 3 miles to school, sometimes through 4 feet of snow.
Is that right?
Now, Sam?
Well, we had 4 feet one morning, Alice. And when I came home from school, Henry, I went down to the village and did odd jobs.
Yes, Father, but didn't your folks give you any money?
Not a cent. And at the end of my 4 years in high school, do you know how much I had in the bank? $35.
Is that all?
What do you mean, is that all? It was drawing 6% interest.
Yes, Father, but nowadays a bank doesn't pay 6%.
The great reward for saving, my boy. Alice, where are you going?
Out in the hall to get a sweater.
Yes. And Henry, right there is a very good example of what I'm driving.
Yes, Father, I'll go right down and fix the furnace.
And in the future, will you try to do things without having to be told?
Oh, yes, Father. This talk has done me a great deal of good already.
Well, I'm pleased to hear that.
As a matter of fact, I think I have an idea that'll please you very much.
What is the idea?
Oh, you'll see. From now on, you're going to find a big change in me.
What's that noise?
Gee whiz, I guess that must be Mother shoveling coal. Wait, Mother, I'm coming right down. Toby, do you know what time it is?
We've got lots of time, Henry. We're only 2 blocks from school.
Did I tell you about my idea, Toby?
What idea?
I'm taking care of furnaces.
Whose, Henry?
Everybody's. I think that when a person reaches our age, they ought to begin to assume a few responsibilities. Don't you, Toby?
How much money is there in it?
Oh, boy, I hate to think of it. I've been calling up customers all morning.
How many do you have?
Well, so far I don't actually have any. But that's just a coincidence. It just happened that most of the people I've called so far don't need to have anyone assume their responsibilities.
Yeah? Well, I understand Willie Marshall makes a lot of money taking care of furnaces.
He does?
Sure. Could I go into business with you, Henry?
Oh, no, Toby. You assume your responsibilities and I'll assume mine.
But, Henry, we could make twice as much.
You think so?
If we could get a few families like the Van Skivers and the Peckinpahs.
Sure.
They've got money. The only thing is, I think Willie Marshall already takes care of them.
He does?
Sure. And I heard that every time there's a holiday, he gets a little extra from them.
Is that right? You know, I'd like to take care of the Peckinpahs. Gee, my father takes care of all of Mr. Peckinpah's legal matters. It'd be nice if I could take care of his heating.
Sure.
Sure, then it would be a complete all-round service.
Henry, don't look now. But isn't that Willie across the street?
Where?
Hey, you fellas, wait a second.
Come on over, Willie.
Am I tired?
What's the matter with you?
I got up at 5:30 this morning to tend my furnaces.
What are you eating, Willie?
Fudge and peanuts.
Fudge and peanuts.
It's my breakfast.
That's all you're going to eat?
Candy and peanuts are all I ever eat.
For any meal?
Sure. Fudge for breakfast, peanuts for lunch, chocolate for dinner.
Gee, Toby, do you hear that? He makes so much money, all he ever eats is candy.
Hold this bag a minute, Henry.
What for?
I want to open a piece of bubble gum.
Willie, you wouldn't like to get rid of one or two of your customers, would you?
Why should I?
Didn't you just say you were tired?
I'm not that tired.
Willie, take some of your customers. Sooner or later, they'll be putting in oil burners, and then where will you be?
How about it, Willie?
Oh, wait till I get this gum started.
Willie, while you're starting your gum, let me suggest something. How would you like to have me give you $2 for a couple of your customers? I'll buy the Peckinpahs and the Van Skivers from you.
$3, Henry.
$2, Willie.
$3.
But, Willie, all I've got is $2 my mother gave me to buy lunches with for next month.
I don't want it.
But, Willie, with $2, you still wouldn't have to go back on to regular food right away.
I tell you no.
Willie, I don't like to say this, but if you don't want to sell, I happen to be in a very unfortunate position for you.
How, Henry?
Well, my father happens by chance to be Mr. Peckinpah's lawyer, and you know what that means.
Yeah?
Sure. And, Henry, isn't your father Mr. Van Skiver's lawyer, too?
Yeah, come to think of it, I think he is.
Willie, what chance have you got?
Let's see the $2.
Here you are.
Okay, you want to buy my shovel for 50 cents extra?
Will we need it, you think?
Sure. You can pay me any time.
That's fair enough.
How about my overall for 25 cents?
Your overalls?
Henry, you can't buy overalls for any less than that.
Okay.
And is there anything else you fellers need?
No.
I got a necktie at home I'd sell you.
No, Willie.
Willie, what's the necktie like?
It's red.
Sold.
Hey, fellas, wait for me!
Hello, Agnes.
Wait, will ya?
Toby and I've got to hurry on. So long, Willie.
Henry, let's go over to the candy store and open a charge.
Hey, what's been going on, Willie?
I just sold them the Peckinpahs, the Van Skivers furnaces to take care of.
Yeah?
Yeah. I wonder if they'll be mad.
Why?
Well, the Van Skivers just had an oil burner put in.
Oh. Would that make a difference?
In a way, it would. Yesterday, the Peckinpahs left for Florida.
Toby, are you sure this is where the Peckinpahs live?
Sure, Henry. Do you suppose we're going to have to get up this early every morning?
Gee, but it's dark.
Wouldn't you think somebody would be willing to get up and let us in?
I wonder whether we really ought to wake up the Peckinpahs.
You mean we've got to wait until they get up?
Well, they certainly expect us to be quiet, don't they?
Let's go around and try the cellar door.
Okay, come on, Toby. Can you see?
Sure.
Have a piece of candy, Toby?
I don't mind if I do.
Which bag do you want some out of?
Well, let's try the one that's in your left pocket.
Toby, isn't this the cellar door?
Can you open it?
No.
Push a little, Henry.
What do you think I'm doing?
Well, gee, Henry, we've got to get into that furnace.
That's what I say. We can't shirk our responsibility the first day we begin.
Here, I'll push with you.
Come on. Oh, gee whiz.
Imagine, Henry, the whole lot came right off.
I guess the door was rotten. Boy, is it dark down here.
Wait a minute.
What's the matter?
I walked into a cobweb.
You've got to get used to going into cellars like this, Toby.
Oh, sure.
Oh! What's the matter? I found the boiler.
Yeah? Where?
Right over my head.
Well, at least we know where it is.
Ouch! What's that?
My head.
Well, gee whiz, Toby, I just...
Listen, Henry, do you want to wake everyone up?
Here's the furnace. Toby, there isn't any fire in it.
You mean they let it go out?
Imagine, boy, it's a good thing we got in here before they woke up.
Do you suppose there's any kindling?
If you find a light, turn it on, huh?
Same to you. Here's the box, Henry.
Good. Can you break it up?
I guess so. There are a lot of papers in it.
Swell. We've got everything. You know, Toby, it won't be any time until we have it so hot upstairs, Mr. and Mrs. Peckinpah will be hanging out the window.
Sure. When they hear about all this extra trouble we've been to, they'll make us take something extra.
Here we go, Toby. I'm going to touch the match to it. Oh, boy, look at that.
Imagine, we may get as much as $1 just for striking that one match. Ever have an easier job, Henry?
I'll say I have. Oh, gee, there goes the candy all to the floor.
Why worry about 10 or 15 cents worth of candy?
That's what I say. Here, I'll throw it in the fire. Boy, look at it. I never thought I'd be in a position where I could just stand back and watch candy burn.
Hi there.
Gee whiz, who's that in the doorway?
Me.
Is it Mr. Peckinpah?
No, it's the milkman. I was just going by and I seen smoke starting out of the chimney. Are the Peckinpahs back?
Back? They're upstairs in bed.
They are? I thought they went to Florida.
Oh, gee, no, we've been engaged to take care of their furnace.
Well, look, how much milk do you suppose I ought to leave?
Toby, how much would you think?
Well, I don't know. Why not their regular amount?
That's what I would say.
Okay, I'll leave 6 quarts of milk and 1 of cream.
Yes, sir.
I better tell the bread man and the newsboy if I see him.
Yes, sir.
Henry, let's start shoveling.
You know, Toby, my father was right. If you have a job to do and you do it, it makes you feel swell.
Now, getting back to the troubles of Henry Aldrich, Henry and Toby bought a furnace route from Willie Marshall. Without realizing that the first customer he sold them had gone to Florida, the boys managed to get into the basement and build a fire in the furnace. The scene opens the same morning in the Aldrich dining room.
Sam,
Yes, Alice?
come in here and eat your breakfast.
Henry had his.
He's upstairs washing.
You know, Alice, it seems to me there's already been a great change in Henry.
There has, dear. He came in so covered with ashes that I didn't even know him.
Mother,
Yes, Henry?
I'll sweep out the bathroom just as soon as I finish breakfast.
What's happened to the bathroom?
Nothing, Father. I just changed my clothes in it. Here's the morning mail for you.
Oh, thank you.
Henry, what in the world happened to you this morning?
Mother, I bought out a furnace tending business from a guy yesterday, see? Are you listening, Father?
Alice, who do you suppose sent this letter from Florida?
In Florida?
Father, now may I proceed?
Well, the Peckinpahs seem to be having a wonderful time.
Oh, that's nice, dear. I envy them.
Who is?
The Peckinpahs. I have a letter from them.
A letter from the Peckinpahs? Saying they're having a wonderful time?
What's so strange about that?
Why didn't they just phone and tell you?
Henry, they're in Florida.
They're in Florida?
Yes.
Well, what did they go down there for?
Well, I suppose because it's nice and warm.
Yes, they always did find their house in Centerville hard to heat.
Well, if you'll excuse me, I don't think I'll eat anymore.
Henry?
Where are you going?
Oh, just over and attend to something I think would be a good idea to attend to.
Sam, I hope Henry isn't going to work as hard as this every day.
Best thing in the world for him to work on Saturday. Peckinpah's letter goes on to say, due to our haste in getting away, we overlooked a rather important item. At the foot of our cellar stairs, we left a box of manuscripts which we would like to have covered and shipped by express at once.
What else does he say?
Please ask whoever does the job not to litter the basement, as Mrs. Peckinpah just had it thoroughly cleaned. I'll drive around and get the box on my way to the office.
Now let me try to shake it, Toby.
Henry, don't you think I can shake a furnace?
No.
The whole trouble is there's a clinker stuck.
Of course, Toby, but you're just filling the basement up with smoke. Here. Well, what do you know about that?
Henry, I still don't understand it. Are you sure the Peckinpahs aren't here?
Didn't I tell you I saw Mr. Peckinpah's letter? Stand back while I show up this long poker in. Imagine that.
What's the matter?
Toby, can you hold up this piece of furnace pipe right over your head?
Why, Henry?
It seemed to come apart when I just hit it.
Well, that pipe's hot, Henry.
Well, hold it up with this stick. Here. Gee, look at the smoke leak out.
I'll take care of the smoke. You get to work on the clinker.
I am, Toby. I am. Wouldn't you have thought that the Peckinpahs would at least put up a sign saying, "Gone to Florida, no fires, please"?
Imagine Willie selling them to you.
You wait until we get Willie.
Henry, do you realize I'm holding this pipe while you just stand there and cough?
Now the poker's stuck in the grate.
Well, look, Henry, I don't think we're getting any place.
Toby, take that pipe down for a minute.
All the way?
Sure, let's fix one thing at a time here.
Now look at the smoke come out.
That's only until we get it fixed. I'll pull on the poker while you shake.
When I say 3, yank, Henry.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, yank!
Did we get it out, Toby?
I think we got the whole grate out.
Oh, is that what dropped down?
We've got to do something about these hot coals that have rolled out on the floor, Henry.
Well, at least the smoke has stopped coming out of the pipe. And nobody can say we aren't responsible. Listen, Toby, what's that?
What, Henry?
Gee whiz, it's somebody walking upstairs.
Do you suppose the Peckinpahs are home?
They couldn't be.
Do you know what I think, Henry?
What?
Only Mr. Peckinpah's away and the rest are here.
Gee whiz, this is a nice time to find that out.
Henry, we've got to get the fire back in.
How?
Throw it where part of the grate is still hanging.
Okay. We'll shovel real quietly.
Quiet, Henry.
You think even that's too loud?
Well, I can hear it, but then I'm right here.
Sure, and you know what I'm doing. What do you suppose that can be?
There must be a fire someplace.
I wonder where they're going. Come on, Toby, let's go out in front and see which way they're headed.
That's what I say.
Here, hold the door open. There's one thing I like, it's a good fire. Toby! Toby, look, the engines are stopping right out in front.
And they're unloading their hose.
Toby, I think we better be leaving. Toby, about what time do you think it is?
It must be darn near time for dinner. Will your folks give you the deuce when you get home?
I've got a perfectly good excuse, Toby. If they ask where I was today, I can say I was way out in the country.
Sure. That's because that's where we are.
Sure. That's what I mean. Here, have a piece of candy.
No, thanks.
I'm not hungry either.
I told you when you made Willie give back your money, you shouldn't spend the whole business on candy. Gee whiz, you bought enough to nearly fill this barn.
Well, the first few pounds tasted good, didn't they?
What's that, Henry?
That's just Willie. He's trying to get out again.
Hey, shut up, Willie.
Let me out of here.
Go chase yourself, Willie. We aren't going to let you out until you promise.
Promise what?
Are you going to tell our folks that we were the cause of those fire engines coming out?
Are you going to give me back my $2?
That belonged to Henry, Willie.
And besides, we've eaten your $2.
Well, you're not going to make me promise not to squeal.
All right, then you can stay in there.
That's what I say.
Come on, Toby. I guess we'll go back to Centerville.
Do you mean that, Henry?
No, we'll just let him think it.
But, Henry, supposing we have to keep him here all night.
Toby, don't you realize what'll happen if he tells? They carried every piece of furniture out of Peck and Paw's house and then had to carry it all back in again. Do you want your father to know you were mixed up in it?
Well, let's go back and force Willie to promise.
Okay, but let me do the talking. Oh, Willie. Willie, we've got a little proposition to put up to you.
All right, Willie, if you don't want any of this candy.
Listen, Willie. Willie, stop sulking.
Henry, look through the crack here.
What do you say?
Gee whiz, open the door.
Toby, he's gone.
You mean he's escaped?
He's probably on his way to my house right now. Oh, boy.
Yeah, maybe he's on his way to mine.
Come on, we gotta beat him back home.
Well, Sam, do you still think you were right?
About what?
You said that from now on we'd see a big change in Henry. Well, he didn't come home for lunch, and here it is time for dinner.
All in all, Alice, this has been a very pleasant day.
Oh, I still can't get over it.
And when do you suppose I will? To make the thing doubly embarrassing, Alice, when I saw smoke pouring out of the house, I had to be the one who turned in the alarm.
But there wasn't any fire at all?
Only in the furnace. But it took nearly all the rest of the day getting the place straightened up again. And those two tramps the firemen saw running away from the house had been living in the basement.
Not really, Sam.
That's what they'd been doing. That's why they built a fire in the furnace, to keep warm. Why, Alice, they were even having their milk and bread delivered there. We even found today's paper there. And what was left of a bag of marshmallows.
What on earth had they been doing with marshmallows?
Probably toasting them. And the box, Alice. The box of manuscripts that Peck and Paw wanted me to express to them.
Were they gone?
Probably they had been burned. Burned, mind you. And nobody knows how valuable they were.
Well, what are you going to do?
I don't know. I wired Peck and Paw. Who's that?
Is everybody all right?
Is that you, Henry?
Yes, Mother. I hope I haven't kept your dinner waiting.
Henry, will you please come in here?
Has anything happened while I was away?
Happened?
I mean, there hasn't been anybody here at the house to see you, has there?
Who, for instance?
Well, anybody. You know, I just wondered whether any one of the fellas I know had dropped in.
No, Henry.
Oh. Well, I'm glad I didn't miss anyone then.
Henry, where have you been all day?
Oh, Toby and I just took a walk outside town to look at the countryside.
Did you?
Yeah, we explored an old barn. Would you like to take a walk out that way sometime, Father?
I've had all the exercise I need. Thank you.
Oh.
Your father has been carrying furniture all day, Henry.
He has?
Yes.
He's been changing the house around?
Yes, but not this house. I'll answer the phone.
Henry,
Yes, Mother.
if I were you, I'd be very careful for the next day or so not to do anything to upset your father.
You would?
Yes, dear. Hurry upstairs and wash while I answer the door.
Why, just as soon answer it.
I'll answer.
But, Mother,
Hi, Mrs. Aldrich. Is Mr. Aldrich here?
Oh, he's on the phone, Willie.
Mother, is that Willie Marshall?
Yes, dear. He wants to see your father.
Well, Mrs. Aldrich, I'll just as soon tell you.
Listen, Willie, my mother's very busy.
Oh, no, she isn't, Henry.
What is it you want, Willie?
Mother, don't I smell something burning out in the kitchen?
Burning? Oh, dear, it's probably the string bean.
Listen, Willie, you beat it. Do you hear me?
You make me.
Get your foot out of the door.
I'm going to tell your father.
Gee whiz, Willie, look in back of you.
Where?
Right there.
Hey, you!
Goodbye, Willie. Mother,
What is it, dear?
are you out here in the kitchen?
Yes.
That's all I wanted to know. Do you feel a draft here? I think I'll lock this back door.
Well, Alice, I just had an answer to my wire.
What does it say?
Box of manuscripts were only Mrs. Peckinpah's minutes of the Woman's Club. Don't worry.
What's that, Father?
Oh, nothing that concerns you, son. He also says returning Monday.
He's coming back?
Well, why shouldn't he? He also says, please engage Willie Marshall to clean up basement and start furnace.
Could you read that again, Father?
I understand exactly what he means. Do you know where Willie Marshall lives?
Yes, sir, but...
He was just here.
Henry, I want you to run over and tell him to straighten that basement out and get a fire started.
But, Father, why should Willie do it when I'm right here?
He asked to have Willie do it.
But, Mother, I won't charge.
Why not?
Well, I'd like to give Mr. Peckinpah an introductory offer.
Henry, I'm sorry, but you're not going to do any more work tonight.
But, Mother, I feel sorry for Mr. Peckinpah.
Why?
Well, he's a friend of Father's.
Well, all I can say, son, is that I'm certainly glad to see you shoulder some responsibility. Now, what's that?
Oh, I guess that's just something banging against the cellar door.
Well, I better go fix it.
Father, you stay where you are. I'll fix it.
Well, thank you, sir.
I'll just get my baseball bat and attend to it right away.
Listen again next week, same time, same station, for another sparkling half hour with your favorite youngster, his family, and his pals. The Aldrich Family, starring Ezra Stone, is written by Clifford Goldsmith.
That was an early episode of The Aldrich Family, and now an episode of a program called Leo is on the Air. Now, you remember that MGM lion at the beginning of all MGM movies, including Wizard of Oz? You know, he was known as Leo the Lion. And so Leo is on the Air is talking about an MGM movie that's been adapted for the radio. And this time, it's an Andy Hardy movie. The Hardy family had already starred in a number of movies. The one preceding this was Andy Hardy's Private Secretary from 1941.
Catherine is my new private secretary.
Private secretary? Oh, that's a new one, isn't it?
Oh, don't worry about Andrew and me, Polly. He's not my type.
Private secretary, huh? Next thing you'll be telling me you have to work nights.
Andy, couldn't you have more of a twinkle in your eye like your father?
More twinkle.
So this is an adaptation of Life Begins for Andy Hardy from that same year.
Most of you remember Andy Hardy's private secretary. Andy has graduated from Carville High School. Now, what will Andy do during summer vacation? Well, for the first time in the movies, another story starts, just where the other finished. The graduation dance is over. Andy has taken Polly home, and now, here we go, into the brand new story, Life Begins for Andy Hardy.
And now, the radio version. Enjoy the show.
Leo is on the air. This is your Hollywood radio reporter coming to you from the Little Theater at Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer Studios, bringing you Judge Hardy's family in Life Begins for Andy Hardy, with Louis Stone, Mickey Rooney, Fay Holden, Ann Rutherford, and Judy Garland. Life Begins for Andy Hardy picks up the Hardy family story where the picture Andy Hardy's Private Secretary left off. Andy, you'll remember, has just graduated from high school. It's a momentous period in the Hardy household. To quote Mrs. Hardy, it's come to the day when a fine, manly young fellow wants to go off into the world and find out if he can fly with his own wings. Andy, in a philosophical mood himself, declares that he has arrived at life's most important crossroad. Judy Garland, as Betsy Booth, that child from New York, thinks longingly of her dream man and expresses her feelings in a song. Listen.
I know too well that I'm just wasting precious time in thinking such a thing could be, that you could ever care for me. I'm sure you hate to hear that I adore you, dear, but grant me just the same, I'm not entirely to blame for you, dear. So easy to love, so easy to idolize, all others above. Yearning for, so swell to keep every home fire burning for. We'd be so grand at the game, so carefree pray together that it does seem a shame that you can't see your future with me, 'cause you'd be, oh, so easy to love.
Thank you, Judy. Now back to the Hardys. It's 2 a.m. Andrew Hardy slips off his shoes, cautiously opens the front door, and tiptoes into the Hardy reception hall.
Good morning, Andrew.
Oh, Dad. Up kind of late, aren't you?
Aren't you getting home kind of late?
Having graduated from high school, I've got a right to stay out as late as I want. Haven't I?
Oh, obeying your parents is now kid stuff, eh?
Well, certainly not. Not about the important issues of life. Gosh, it's hot tonight.
Andrew, I want... You meet me in my chambers at 12 o'clock tomorrow.
Was something serious?
Yeah, it's one of the important issues of life. Your future. Now, you get yourself some sleep and pick up those shoes.
Yeah.
I nearly broke my neck over this book you left on the floor.
Oh, thanks. I guess Mom was so excited about graduation she forgot to pick things up.
Pick things up? You expect to spend the next 50, 60 years of your life with your mother waiting on you?
Well, I should hope not. Someday I plan to have a little home of my own someday.
That's what I want to talk to you about. I didn't figure on settling your future so soon, but something requires quick action. Well, hello, Bob.
Hello, Jim.
This is my son, Andrew. Andrew, this is Dr. Wagner, president of Wainwright College.
I'm glad to meet you, sir.
And I wanted to meet you. So naturally, Jim Hardy's son rates pretty high with me. I understand there's a chance we may have you at Wainwright College for the next 7 years.
7 years. Yes. Well, Mr. Wagner, maybe you haven't looked me over thoroughly enough. Maybe your college might prefer to turn out a tall lawyer.
Well, the best good come in small packages. You know that, Andrew. Well, Jim, you make formal application for Andrew if you decide you want that scholarship.
I get it.
Goodbye, my boy.
Goodbye, sir.
Goodbye, Jim.
Bye.
Dad, how long did it take you to be a lawyer?
4 years in college and 3 more in law school.
Gosh, couldn't you learn the difference between right and wrong any quicker than that?
It was actually 10 years before I was earning enough to keep body and soul together.
10 years?
Yeah.
Well, by that time I'd be 30, and I've always planned to retire when I got middle-aged. Now I don't know what I want to do.
Yeah, that's a serious problem. Suppose we sit down and have a good long talk after dinner.
Ask you something very personal, confidential, and intimate?
What? Well, yes, Betsy.
How would you feel about eventually having me for a daughter-in-law?
Well, when the proper time comes, Betsy, dear, there's nobody I'd rather have.
Oh, thank you, Mrs. Hardy. Oh, you've taken years off of my shoulders. Andrew's my jewel, although he doesn't know it yet. And if he's washed off that Benedict barbarian, maybe I can pour myself into her late lamented spot.
Yeah, maybe, yes. Many a man found his true happiness on the rebound.
Oh, I don't care whether I grab Andy on the rebound or the second bounce, as long as I grab him.
Yes, I know. I felt just that way about his father.
What do you say we tune in on him? He's talking to his father, you know. They're settling his future.
Well, Andrew, the decision is yours to make. How will you attain the full richness of life?
Well, I want to get the full richness out of my life. Question is, how?
Well, the law is a stern mistress. But every man in this country is endowed with magnificent rights and privileges. When you come right down to it, it's in my court they get those rights.
Oh, but 10 years. The next 10 years are the best years of my life.
At any age, the next 10 years are the best years in a man's life.
If I could only try the other way first before I made up my mind. Maybe... Suppose I got myself a job.
Well, if you're going in for the law, I'd hate you to miss this scholarship. We've got to apply inside a month.
Oh, can't I use that month to find out? Couldn't I have that month and go maybe, say, to New York and get myself a job and find out what life's all about on my own?
Andrew, Hardy, you can't go off to New York by yourself. Why, you're hardly more than a baby.
Mom, Betsy will think you mean that. Well, you know I'm 18.
Of course you are, son, but your mother can hardly realize that it's 18 years since you were so little and soft and pink. And I was washing you in a basin.
Mom, that kind of talk isn't respectable in front of a child like Betsy.
Listen here, Andrew Hardy. Last month my cousin had a baby, and she let me take care of it all by myself.
What is this world coming to?
It's come to the day when a fine, manly young fellow wants to go out in the world and see if he can fly with his own wings. Like his father did once. Like my father did once. And like your son will one day want to do, Andrew. Betsy, we going to finish those dishes or not?
Gosh, Dad. Isn't Mom wonderful and understanding?
Yes, Andy. Your mother so wonderfully understanding that by tomorrow she'll be claiming this scheme as her own idea.
Oh, Dad, you understand that. I hope you understand. It isn't that my home life is beginning to pall.
Yeah. I know. Well, then we'll just call it settled, huh?
Yeah.
I suppose you'll be wanting to leave him right soon.
It just goes to prove if you live right, you get your reward right here on Earth. Andy's going to spend a month in New York, and that's my own particular backyard. Sort of like magic, isn't it?
Yes, Betsy, it's magic. The magic of life.
My father wants me to be a lawyer. But I'm not sure I want to waste so many years of my life. No, I've been toying with the idea of being a captain of industry.
This is one of the big crossroads of life, Andrew. Well, goodbye, Andrew.
Goodbye, Polly. Oh, I suppose this isn't goodbye forever. Perhaps our paths will cross again.
Well, I might even be married when we meet again.
Polly, when I get married, I'll tell my little wife what a sweet little girl I used to go around with. And, well, she'll be glad because, Polly, in my adolescence, I might have gone around with a different kind of a girl. You know, the kind of a girl where there might be regrets.
And I'll tell my husband that there never was a sweeter boy than Andrew Hardy. Except him, of course.
Well, you might give me an even break with your husband.
Well, goodbye, Andrew.
Goodbye, Polly. May life quickly bring you happiness, prosperity, and a ripe old age.
Crossroads are kind of sad, aren't they, Andrew?
Life has its tragedies. So, goodbye, and if this is goodbye forever, Polly, then goodbye forever.
Your rubbers when it rains, and watch out crossing the streets. And positively do not speak to any strangers.
Well, outside of little Betsy here, all the people in New York will be strangers to Andy.
Gosh, Mom, what do you want me to talk in New York? The deaf and dumb language?
Well, you know what I mean.
And, Andy, if you get in any tight corners, don't hesitate to telephone me immediately.
No, Dad, I'm on my own. If I get into any jams, why, it's up to me to get myself out. I want to feel that there's nothing between me and starvation and my own initiative.
Oh, don't worry, Mrs. Hardy. When I come home, my mother's going to flutter like mad that I came home so soon, but I'll be there, and you can rely on me to the last drop of my blood.
Got your money in Inside pocket, son?
Yes, sir, where the pickpockets can't get at it.
Well, goodbye, son.
Goodbye, Dad.
Now remember, give it a good fair trial, because if you decide to be a lawyer, I want you to do it with a clear mind.
Well, I want to be sure, because the next 10 years are the best. Goodbye. Bye, Mom.
Goodbye, darling.
Bye, Aunt Millie.
Goodbye, Miss Hardy.
Goodbye,
Goodbye, Miss Hardy. Goodbye, Miss Forrest. Goodbye.
Well, goodbye, everybody. Don't worry about me. I admit I got into a lot of complications in my young life, but that was when I was practically a kid. Now I see everything much clearer now, and I'm never going to make any more mistakes. Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye, darling.
Take care of yourself.
Goodbye, Bessie, dear.
Betty, you take care of him, won't you?
Today I am a man.
Well, I'm mighty proud of that young man.
I wonder if he should have had some more money.
I gave him an extra $10 this morning.
I gave him $5 after lunch. I gave him $8 myself.
Mother, I thought you'd accepted this going-away business and were reconciled to it.
If being reconciled to your son going away means you can't cry, I can't see any point in being a mother.
Now, Emily, wipe your eyes, please.
I guess that's the hardest thing a mother has to do. Wipe the tears from her eyes and the years from her heart and see her little boy's a man.
So Andy Hardy has arrived at life's most important crossroad. Just which turn he's going to take is something Andy will decide for himself. Ladies and gentlemen, you have heard Louis Stone, Mickey Rooney, Fay Holden, Ann Rutherford, and Judy Garland in several of the opening scenes of the motion picture Life Begins for Andy Hardy. This is your Hollywood radio reporter saying thank you for listening.
That was the radio version of the movie Life Begins for Andy Hardy. And now another episode of The Aldrich Family. This episode takes place after World War II, but the memories from the war linger. Like, for example, the 1942 scrap drive. It takes a lot of metal to wage a war, and in 1942 there was a huge scrap metal drive to raise material needed for the war.
Pails, rakes, hoes, shovels, cans, and farm tools. An anti-aircraft gun can be made from 252 lawnmowers. Clearing out the junk can make each barnyard a small munitions dump in itself.
So this episode is from 7 years later, February 3rd, 1949.
And now the Jell-O family presents...
Henry Aldrich.
Coming, Mother.
Yes, it's the Aldrich family, based on characters originated by Clifford Goldsmith and starring Ezra Stone as Henry with Jackie Kelk as Homer. And yes, it's the Jell-O family with its three famous desserts. Jell-O in those 6 delicious flavors, Jell-O puddings with that old-fashioned homemade flavor, and Jell-O tapioca puddings, a miracle of goodness, a marvel of speed.
Everyone's a Jell-O good fellow, a very good Jell-O good fellow, so rich, so tempting and mellow, Jell-O.
And now for the Aldrich family. It's difficult to imagine, and even more difficult to remember, either a neighborhood or a home without a typical teenage boy somewhere in it. Henry Aldrich, for instance, is always right in the center of everything. The scene opens in the Aldrich front hall. It is mid-morning.
I'm coming. Well, Willie Marshall.
Hi, Mr. Aldrich. Did you know it's snowing cats and dogs outside?
It's also snowing cats and dogs inside. Come in so I can shut the door.
Sure. I've got special rates for shoveling the last snow of the year, Mr. Aldrich. $1 an hour.
$1?
That shocks you?
It does.
Well, did I mention I have an easy payment plan?
Willie, no plan could make paying $1 an hour easy.
But for snow, that's dirt cheap.
No, thank you. Besides, it isn't necessary to hire anyone. Henry's already out there shoveling our driveway.
He is?
Yes, he started nearly an hour ago.
Well, gee, I guess the snow's coming down so fast I couldn't see him.
So thank you just the same.
Well, that's okay. Would you like some firewood hauled?
No, thanks.
Lamps rewired?
No, thanks.
How about having your house repainted?
What?
I have a tie-in with an uncle.
No, thank you, Willie. And now, if you'll excuse me, I'm helping Mr. Brown make out his income tax return.
Okay, I'll move along. Here, Mr. Aldrich.
What's this?
My card. So long.
Goodbye.
Say, Sam.
I'm coming, Will.
I've been looking over these exemptions. There must be a typographical error.
That's impossible.
But, Sam, according to this form, all I'm allowed to deduct for Homer is $600.
That's right.
After all I go through, Sam, it isn't fair.
Yes, Alice?
Don't you think he's been out there long enough?
Who?
Henry. He'll be simply worn to nothing, shoveling all that heavy snow.
I'll get the phone, Mother.
Thank you, Mary.
Alice, don't worry about Henry. Boys have been shoveling ever since the first snowfall.
But when we had his tonsils out, Dr. Bennington warned us not to let Henry overexert.
Henry was 3 years old then.
Dear, it's the easiest thing in the world to have a relapse.
Mr. Brown, that phone call's for you.
Me?
And here's your pot of hot chocolate, Mother.
Thanks, Mary. Here's Sam.
I'll be right back.
You know I don't care for hot chocolate.
Dear, I want you to take it out to Henry.
Alice.
Sam, it's energy food.
Hello?
Will, this is Elizabeth.
Who?
Elizabeth Brown, your wife.
Oh, yes, Elizabeth.
Is Homer over there at the Aldriches?
Of course not. He's shoveling snow off our driveway.
Well, I did see a dark object out there, but I thought it was a trash can.
Elizabeth, it's about time you began to recognize the difference between your own son and a trash can.
Yes, dear. And, Will, you know how the poor boy suffers from sinus.
Only when there's work to be done.
But, dear...
Elizabeth, let's not coddle Homer.
Will, is that Elizabeth on the phone?
Now, hold on a second, Elizabeth.
Tell her to tell Henry to come right home and to be quick about it.
Is Henry at our house?
Well, he's not here, and our driveway hasn't been touched.
Elizabeth, how many trash cans did you see outside?
One. And excuse me, Will, I've got a pot of hot chocolate on the stove.
What? Henry isn't at our house, Sam.
That's a fine peg. Alice, where's Henry?
Were you calling I, Father?
Henry Aldrich, where did you come from?
The basement. And, Father, did you know our aluminum snow shovel has disappeared?
Henry, we gave that to the government in 1942.
We did? Gee whiz, what for?
We were fighting a war.
With our snow shovel?
Henry.
But, Father, the one I'm using weighs a ton.
No alibis, Henry. If Homer's clearing away the brown snow, the least you can do is clear ours.
Homer is?
That's right, Henry.
Homer?
Did someone call me?
Homer!
Father.
So you were the trash can after all.
Why?
Why aren't you at home shoveling snow?
Because I'm going to help Henry, then he's coming over to help me.
Oh, you don't say.
Sure. Boy, if there's one thing two people can do faster, it's driveways.
Very well, then. Suppose you start.
Yeah. Now?
Now.
Before we find a lighter shovel?
Homer, start shoveling.
Yes, Father. But gee whiz, you've never seen the snow that weighed so much.
Come on, Will. Let's get back to your income tax.
Father, did I mention the weather report I heard on the radio?
What about it?
They predicted we're practically sure to have sun tomorrow.
Yes?
Or by Saturday at the latest. Good, hot sun.
Well?
Nothing. I just thought I'd mention it.
You know what our trouble is, Sam? Our wives coddle those boys too much.
Not this time, Will. This time Henry's going to finish that job.
Right, Sam. Homer, too.
Mother just put on her boots and shawl, and your old Mackinac went out to the driveway.
What for?
That's what I was wondering. She was carrying the coal shovel.
What? Alice! Alice, come back in here!
Listen, Henry, be careful.
What'd I do now?
What'd you do? Look at the space I cleared in your driveway.
What space?
That's just it. You threw a shovel full of snow over here, and there goes 15 minutes of work.
Homer, with this shovel, that's as far as I can throw it.
I've been thinking, Henry. How much snow do we take up with each shovelful? 6 inches at the most.
So what?
So if we take one shovel every 10 seconds, do you know how long we'll be?
How long?
I don't know. But I have a date with Agnes tonight, and by the time we're through, I won't be in shape for anything.
Homer, what can we do?
Use our brains.
You think that's practical?
I mean like Tom Sawyer.
Who?
Remember? He got this kid to think whitewashing was so much fun, he did the fence for him and gave Tom an apple besides.
Homer, those things only happen in books. Who'd be dumb enough to fall for a thing like that?
Hiya, fellas.
Oh, boy, here's somebody who's dumb enough. Charlie Clark. Start enjoying yourself, Henry. Start enjoying yourself.
Homer, it won't work.
We can at least try. Boy, Henry, did you ever have so much fun? Wee! Henry.
What?
Wee.
Oh.
Wee! Wee!
What's up, fellas?
Charlie, don't stop us. Boy, are we having fun.
Fun? Homer, have you got sunstroke or something?
Gee whiz, no. Wee!
Wee!
Wee! Oh, boy.
Homer, what happened?
Oh, boy.
Homer, why are you bent over?
It's nothing, Charlie. Didn't you ever laugh so hard you couldn't straighten up?
Henry, does he mean he's really enjoying shoveling snow?
Oh, sure.
You know what I think?
What?
You guys sure have sunstroke, all right. So long.
Charlie, wait.
Imagine thinking a thing like shoveling snow is fun.
But it is, Charlie. Look. Wee.
Homer, he's gone.
Wee.
I told you it only worked in books, Homer.
Well, all I can say is that's a good example of our entire school system.
What is?
Tom Sawyer. They give you a book like that to read, and when you put it to work, what happens? No wonder I flunked French.
French? What's that got to do with Tom Sawyer?
It's all tied together, Henry. It's all tied together.
Come on, we'd better get back to shoveling, or we'll never get done.
Okay. Wee.
Homer, never mind weeing.
Oh, I forgot. Boy, did you ever shovel heavier snow?
Hiya, fellas.
Who's that?
Willie Marshall. Keep shoveling.
Hiya, fellas. What you doing?
Yes.
Okay. Shoveling snow?
You win, Willie. Now would you like to do me a favor?
What?
Jump in the lake.
I can't. It's frozen.
Oh, boy.
I can crack a joke as well as the next guy.
Willie, for the last time, beat it and let us finish.
Say, you guys wouldn't consider...
Consider what?
Gee, no, I guess you wouldn't.
Wouldn't what?
Well, you guys look like you're having so much fun. I was wondering if you'd let me try for a while.
What? You mean you want to shovel?
I guess you wouldn't consider it, huh?
Sure we would.
Well, here, Willie, try mine.
Well, gee, thanks. Here, hold this package. Whee!
Henry, do you suppose he's got sunstroke?
Whee! Well, thanks for letting me try, fellas. Here's your shovel.
You're quitting?
When you've just started to enjoy yourself?
Gee, I really don't want to quit. Only I have to deliver this package to my Aunt Mildred, see? And
Willie, you mean you're going to let a little thing like your Aunt Mildred stand between you and the most fun you've ever had in your life?
Well, gee, what can I do?
Willie, look, Willie, suppose Homer and I deliver the package for you.
You would, fellas? You'd really do that for me?
Gee, it'd be a pleasure, Willie. Here's your shovel back.
Well, gee, thanks. Her name's Mrs. Hopkins on Maple Street.
Sure, we know. Come on, Homer.
Well, thanks again, fellas.
You're welcome, Willie. Boy, Henry, it just shows how you can misjudge people. Here I've been going through life thinking Willie was one of the smartest guys around.
I'll say.
And you know what I'm going to do when I get home?
What?
Read Tom Sawyer again. Maybe there's something in there that can help my French.
Hi, Mrs. Hopkins.
Hi, Mrs. Hopkins.
Well, come in, boys. I thought you were my nephew, Willie. I've been expecting him all morning.
Well, that's the whole thing, Mrs. Hopkins.
What is?
Willie got sort of tied up in a little deal and sent us over instead.
You're taking his place?
Oh, sure. Here's your package, Mrs. Hopkins.
Package? Oh, that must be... wait here. I'll be right back.
Wait, Mrs. Hopkins?
Gee whiz, why does she want us to wait?
She probably wants to give us a little something for delivering the package.
Oh, boy. You mean we're getting paid to boot?
Homer, if she gives us money, naturally, we won't keep it.
Why not?
Because if anyone really deserves it, it's good old Willie.
With all the fun he's having.
Here you are, boys. The brushes are here in the package, and...
But Mrs. Hopkins, what's in this can?
Whitewash.
Whitewash?
Whitewash.
Well, didn't you say you were taking Willie's place?
Well, sure, only...
Well, that's why he was coming over, to whitewash my basement.
What?
Oh, boy.
Henry, we've been swindled.
what are you doing over there by the window?
Just checking on the boys, Will.
Oh, Homer doesn't look as though he's wheezing, does he?
I can only see one of them from here.
Which one?
It's hard to tell, but he seems to be shoveling right along.
You know, Sam, it sure makes you feel good knowing your son has learned to really stick on the job.
That's right, Will.
Yes, sir. It just goes to show you, Sam, that a mother's a mother. But a father, Sam, every boy really needs a father. After all, who else can teach him how to finish whatever he starts?
Will, speaking of finishing what you start, let's get back to your tax return.
My return. Well, where were we?
On Schedule D, page 2. Have you got it?
Yeah. Sam, why don't I just tell him how much money I've got left over and let the government take what it needs?
Sam, can you answer the front door?
Very well, Alice. We'll start totaling your deductions.
Oh, but, Sam, that's where I really go to pieces.
Hi, Mr. Aldrich.
Willie, you have already asked me. We don't need our plumbing fixed. Our furnace is fine.
Well, he was Mr. Aldrich. I'm not here for that.
No? Come in.
I've got a path cleared from the sidewalk to your back door, Mr. Aldrich.
What?
Naturally, that's for free, but if I make it wide enough to get your car out, don't you think I'm entitled to a little something extra?
Willie, may I ask why you are doing our driveway?
I made sort of a deal with Henry and Homer.
You don't say.
Yes, sir. You look upset, Mr. Aldrich.
Upset?
If you are, naturally, considering the circumstances, I wouldn't think of charging you full price.
Willie, it won't be necessary for you to clear our driveway.
But, Mr. Aldrich, I made a bargain with the boys.
The boys were in no position to make such a bargain. You may go home, Willie.
Well, gee, if you say so, Mr. Aldrich.
I say so.
Well, if you say so, goodbye.
Goodbye.
If you ever need your pipes thawed out or anything
Yes,
like...
Willie, I have your card. Goodbye.
Sam.
Yes, Will. I'm coming.
I can't figure out what... Sam, you look awful. Did you fall down the front steps?
That would have been a pleasure.
What?
Will, the night Henry was born and I found out he was a boy, I had to pinch myself to make sure it was true. But I never realized I'd go through life pinching myself for the same reason.
What's Henry done now?
And it isn't only Henry. Will, you might as well sit down and start pinching yourself, too.
And now, while Mr. Aldrich and Mr. Brown are pinching themselves, let's listen to Meredith Wilson and his Talking People.
Oh, intermission, intermission. Meredith, we just love intermission.
Oh, you do? Well, why, may I ask?
Because it's so short.
I see.
In less than a minute, we'll be back with Henry and Homer. Shall we dance?
Of course. The Jello family's famous tapioca polka.
Jello, vanilla tapioca. Jello chocolate tapioca. Jello orange. Black beans orange. Coconut.
Jello vanilla tapioca. Rich, luscious vanilla. Jello chocolate tapioca. Candy good chocolate. And Jello orange coconut tapioca. Tangy, refreshing orange combined with tropical coconut. But I don't think you'll like them.
Oh, yes, we will.
No, you won't.
Oh, yes, we will.
No, you won't.
Oh,
okay, I guess you will, then. Everybody loves Jello tapioca puddings. Put them on tomorrow's shopping list today. And remember, the big red letters stand for the whole Jello family of desserts.
J-E-L-L. Oh, the big red letters stand for the Jello family. Oh, the big red letters stand for the Jello family. That's Jello. Yum, yum, yum. Jello pudding. Yum, yum, yum. Jello tapioca pudding. Yes, sirree.
And now back to the Aldrich family.
Yes, getting back to the troubles of Henry Aldrich. Sam Aldrich and Will Brown have been shocked to learn that their sons have passed their snow shoveling on to Willie. And Henry and Homer have been tricked into whitewashing his cellar for Willie's aunt. The scene opens in her cellar. It is that afternoon.
Henry, quit.
Oh, gee whiz, did I get you again with the whitewash, Homer?
Sure you did, darn you.
Is it my fault the brush splatters?
But look at my sweater. It's practically polka dotted. And boy, it's even in my hair.
Homer, gray hair is very becoming on you.
Where do I lay my hands on Willie?
Look, Homer, we're practically through. Just a couple more feet of this ceiling and we're free men.
Boys, how are you coming along?
Coming along, Mrs. Hopkins? Well, you might say we're there.
You don't say. Homer, you're as white as a sheet. Are you ill?
No, ma'am. Just whitewashed.
So if you don't mind, Mrs. Hopkins, now that we've finished the whitewashing...
Don't you think you ought to take a little rest first?
Rest?
First?
Yes, before you start removing these ashes.
What ashes?
Well, they're piled right over there. Just shovel them into those barrels.
But...
And remember, when you've done with that, come upstairs. I got something for you.
Henry, did she say ashes?
Yeah.
That whole pile?
Yeah.
Into those 6 barrels?
Uh-huh.
I'm going home.
Homer, wait.
Henry, I'm not going to kill myself at this stage in my life.
But don't you realize Mrs. Hopkins might give us something?
Henry, money isn't everything.
Besides, we made a bargain with Willie. He'll sue us.
Let him. I'll sue him right back. Out of my way.
Homer, look out for the whitewash.
Oh, boy.
Homer.
Gee whiz, look at my shoes. Now I've got one black one and one white one.
Homer, why'd you put your other shoe in the bucket?
You think I want to look ridiculous?
Oh, boys.
Why, yes, Mrs. Hopkins?
I forgot to ask. Can either of you change a $20 bill?
20?
20?
Yes, I need $5.50.
Oh, boy.
Gee whiz. No, we can't, Mrs. Hopkins.
Oh, well, I'll get it somewhere. Thanks anyway.
Henry, did you hear that? She's giving us $5.50.
Did it sound like that to you, too?
Oh, boy, let me at those ashes.
Then you're not quitting?
Henry, are you crazy?
Atta boy, Homer.
Besides, Henry, it's nice inside work.
You know, Sam, snow was never this heavy when I was a boy.
Careful, Will. You're spilling it down my galoshes.
Wouldn't it be better for their characters if we got into your car and tracked them down and put them back on the job?
No, Will. This way we'll show them how easily the job could have been done if they'd only applied themselves.
Yes, but...
And naturally, I don't propose to let them off scot-free. We'll charge them for doing their work for them and take it out of their allowances.
Say, that's a good idea, Sam. How much do we charge?
Oh, I'd say about 30 cents an hour would be a sharp lesson to them.
30? I can't work for that kind of money. Let's make it 50 and really teach them a lesson.
We'll start shoveling.
Sam.
Now what?
You think Henry's right?
Right, what about?
The sun coming out tomorrow.
Now, Will.
But the sun does such a nice, clean job.
Will, you're as bad as the boys. Now keep shoveling.
Sam.
Will, stand back until I figure out how to straighten up.
Homer, keep working.
But, Henry, my back's breaking.
Listen, Mrs. Hopkins is going to pay us $5.50, right?
Yeah.
Just as soon as we get these barrels of ashes out to the curb, right?
Yeah.
Well, how else can we get them out there?
Well, Henry, do you realize Mrs. Hopkins' driveway is twice as long as yours?
Sure, I realize it. Now start shoveling this snow or we'll never get done.
Are we moving, Will?
No use, Sam. Your car wheels just keep spinning.
At the high pay. Here we are stuck in a ditch miles from nowhere. Well, you shouldn't have told me to take that shortcut.
Now, Sam, don't go blaming everything on me. And besides, things aren't hopeless. Once we get moving and get our hands on that flamethrower, those driveways will be a cinch.
Hey, Will. Look.
It's a snowplow, Sam.
Hey! Hello there! Stop! Stop! Hey, Mr. Aldrich. Gus! Will, it's Gus.
A junk man? Hey, Gus, what are you doing on that plow?
Driving it.
In the junk business?
Not anymore. Sheila decided to retire.
Sheila?
Yeah, my horse. She's been pulling that junk wagon, man and boy, for 15 years. Then, one day last month, she told me she was going to up and retire.
She told you?
Yeah. Me and Sheila was pretty close, you know. After 15 years in the junk business, she just couldn't take it anymore. The bells was giving her a headache.
Look, Gus.
Had a mite trouble here?
Yes, and could you haul us out of this ditch?
Haul you out. Well, I might be able to.
Fine.
Only thing is, I'm just the driver of this plow, not the proprietor.
Gus, we'd be very glad to pay you.
You would?
Yes. How much?
Well, now, first, I'd like to point out that this ain't no ordinary plow that you're hiring.
Yes, I know.
It's the widest one in the state.
Well, that's fine, only...
Clears 2 lanes in one fell swoop, as you might say.
Gus, how does $5 sound?
$5, Sam.
Why, it has a nice ring. How does $10 sound to you?
$10?
Now, just a minute, Gus.
No, Mother, it's I, Henry.
Well, please march straight in here. I want a word with you.
Yes, Mother, and boy, am I worn out.
Henry, I haven't the least bit of sympathy for you. Mary?
Yes, Mother?
Will you bring Henry a nice warm glass of milk?
Is he back? Mother, don't start on him until I get there.
Mother, why didn't Willie do our driveway?
Because, dear, your father sent him away.
What?
And, Henry, why you couldn't do a simple, ordinary job that your father can do in 10 minutes is beyond me.
Father's going to clean the driveway?
Yes, dear, just as soon as he gets back from wherever he disappeared to.
Oh, boy.
And when he finds out that you were clearing Mrs. Hopkins' driveway, he's going to be simply furious.
You heard about that?
Yes, dear, your Aunt Harriet saw you.
Mother, let me explain why I did it.
Dear, I know why. And someday you'll learn that money isn't everything.
But that's just it. We didn't get any money.
What?
Mrs. Hopkins wanted the $5.50 for the laundryman.
Henry, I don't understand a word of this.
Gee whiz, all we got out of it were 2 Cokes and a glass of ginger ale. Black.
Here's your milk, Henry.
Gee, I don't know whether I've even got enough strength to swallow.
Mother, did you hear a crash outside a few minutes ago?
A crash? No, dear.
Oh, I'm positive I heard something.
Oh, dear, that must be your father. Sam?
Yes, Alice?
Henry, now are you going to get it?
Mary, your father sounds as though he could use a glass of hot milk, too.
But, Mother, just when he's going to...
Mary, please get it.
My goodness, I might as well be an outsider in this family.
I see you're home, Henry.
Yes, Father. And, Father, as soon as my mittens thaw out, I'm going to get started on the driveway.
Don't bother.
Sam, before you fly off the handle, why don't you... Sam, are you taking off your jacket?
Father, if it'll make you any happier, I won't even wait for my mittens to thaw. I'll start right now.
Henry, the driveway is cleared.
It is?
Sam, are you rolling up your sleeve?
I am.
Father, if you're worried that I haven't learned my lesson, gee whiz, I give you my word. Father, you're rolling up both your sleeves.
I am.
And now, Sam?
Alice, would you please go up to our bathroom and get something for me?
You mean your razor strap?
I mean the liniment.
Sam.
No, I never remembered snow being that heavy.
Oh, gee, Father, then you're not...
Henry, suppose you run upstairs and get the liniment.
Yes, Father, and I give you my word. From now on, I'm going to pitch into everything.
Yes, well, now let's not overdo it.
Sam, I thought you controlled yourself beautifully.
Alice, I couldn't very well blame Henry when...
Yes, Sam?
Alice, suppose we just forget it.
Yes, dear. Did you do the whole driveway yourself?
I, had it done, Alice, by Gus.
Gus?
At a slight additional cost.
But how did you do it so quickly?
He had the widest snowplow in the state.
What?
Never mind, Alice. But, you know that fence between our driveway and Kilmer's?
Yes.
What would you think if we removed it and widened our driveway 3 feet?
Boy, Willie, boy, are you a swindler, tricking us into doing all that work at your Aunt Mildred's.
I'll say, Willie, boy.
Who's a swindler? Who's a swindler? I got that idea right out of a school book, so that makes it perfectly legal. What?
Why?
Sure, that one about a guy whitewashing a fence. Only, of course, I had to spruce up the idea some.
Well, ladies, when it comes to Jell-O, whether you spruce it up with extra fixings or serve it just as is, that rich fruit-like Jell-O is always tops and treats. Yes, those luscious, shimmering Jell-O desserts are lovely to look at and grand to eat in all 6 flavors. Strawberry, raspberry, cherry, orange, lemon, and lime. Every Jell-O flavor has that famous locked-in goodness. Flavor sealed right in by a special process so it can't get out till your first delectable spoonful. No wonder Jell-O tastes so good it makes you think of the real ripe fruit. No wonder Jell-O is America's favorite gelatin dessert. Look for those big red letters on the box. Those big red letters stand for the Jell-O family. For 39 years now, the Boy Scouts of America has carried on a program of character building and citizenship training. So this coming week, we salute 2,200,000 Boy Scouts as they go forward with their crusade to strengthen the arm of liberty. The more Scouts we have today, the better citizens we'll have tomorrow. The Aldrich Family, starring Ezra Stone as Henry with Jackie Kelk as Homer, is written by Norman Tokar and Ed Juris, with music by Jack Miller. Mr. and Mrs. Aldrich are House Jameson and Catherine Roth. And this is Dan Seymour in New York saying, The Aldrich Family is brought to you by the Jell-O family.
Everyone's a Jell-O good fellow, a very good Jell-O good fellow, so rich, so tempting and mellow. Jell-O.
For the Burns and Allen Show, which follows immediately over most of these stations.
This is NBC, the national broadcasting company.